Hi and welcome to my channel. I am Michelle. I'm a writer and I create content around writing, and if this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. Alright you guys, so today we're gonna be tackling the very most important thing when you write a story, which is the 3-act story structure. And to make sure that we all understand what a 3-act story structure is, we're going to be referencing to the famous film called The Lion King. Well, I chose this film because it's very famous, it's very popular, and I believe the 3-act story structure was well implemented in that story. So if you don't know this film, please make sure that you watch it, but then I'm going to be taking you through it so that you can understand. Even if you haven't watched it, then I'm pretty sure and I believe that you're going to understand it. Before we can tackle the 3-act story structure looking at The Lion King, let's first understand what is a 3-act story structure. Well, from generation to generation, when our great parents used to tell stories in a round table, there has always been a rule that stories need to start somewhere, go somewhere, and end somewhere, which is now in a modern day, it is called the 3-act story structure, which is believed that the story needs to start, go, and end somewhere. Let me just give you an example with life generally. You start being a newborn, and then you become a teenager, and then you become a youth, and then you become an old person. So that's just a structure of life. So even with a story, you need to start your story somewhere, go somewhere, and end somewhere. So what is a 3-act story structure now in the modern day? Well, the 3-act story structure is basically 3 parts of your story. The act 1, which is the setup, act 2, which is the confrontation, act 3, which is the resolution. We are going to get into more details of it as the video continues, so stay tuned. So now let's go to the importance of the 3-act story structure. Well, one of the most important thing with a 3-act story structure is that it's a roadmap to where your story is heading to. Number 2 is that it keeps your audience engaged because each act drives the story forward. What it means is that Act 1 is a throw forward of Act 2. Act 2 is a throw forward of Act 3. And then, like, generally it means that you cannot set up something in Act 1 and then in Act 2 you tell us a complete different thing, and then in Act 3 you lose it. No, your story needs to have a roadmap. What you said in Act 1, it needs to build up to Act 2 and it needs to build up to Act 3. Number 3 is that it keeps you as a writer from getting lost in unnecessary tangents. What it basically means is that it helps you as a writer to be able to keep track of your storyline. It helps you to not lose your storyline and to not go off track. Let me just give you an example so that you can understand what this point means. Let's just say you are writing a story about a boy who is in a quest for his parents' death. Okay, this is what you are setting up in Act 1. And then the next thing, this boy is looking to get for marriage. And then the next thing in Act 3, this boy wants a divorce. So that's not how it works, because it's going to confuse the viewers, and then you are out of storyline because there is no storyline here. Like, everything is just all over the place. The story won't make sense. So if you are writing about a boy who is in a quest for his parents' death, we need to see that in Act 1. And then in Act 2, take us through the investigation, and then maybe take us through the flashback on how everything happened, and how his plans and how he's planning on doing everything. And then in Act 3 is resolution. Is whether the boy finally gets his revenge or maybe he fails. That's up to you as a writer to decide. So in this case, we have a storyline, like the story has a beginning, middle, and the end, and we'll be able to follow through it, unlike when it is all over the place. You get me? I hope this gives you a blueprint on how the 3-act story structure works like. Alright, now that you know what a 3-act story structure is and the importance of a 3-act story structure, let's move on to the most interesting part in this video, which is tackling the 3-act story structure of The Lion King, looking at Simba's journey. So we are going to start with Act 1, which is the setup. So in the setup, you introduce your world, your characters, the goal, and the main problem. So in The Lion King, we meet different animals in the Pride Land, and where Mufasa is the king, the land flows with milk and honey. And then Simba gets born in the Pride Land, of which he becomes the prince. So for the purpose of time, I'm going to focus on Simba because he is our main character. So let's look at Simba's journey. So Simba gets born in the Pride Land, of which it makes him the prince. So what is Simba's goal? So Simba's goal in this story is to grow up and become the king. We see this as his father trains him on how he's gonna become the king in future, when maybe his father gets old or maybe he dies or something. So the goal here is simple, is for Simba to grow up and become the king. And we also see this as his father Mufasa take him to different aspects of the land, and then teaching him on how he's gonna become the king in future. So the goal is simple, straightforward, and powerful. It's for Simba grow up and become the king and rule over the Pride Lands. So now that we know the goal, then what is the problem, which is called the inciting incident? So the inciting incident of this film is when his father Mufasa gets killed. This event changes Simba's life completely, as it forces him to leave home and give up on his rightful place to become the next king. This is the end of Act 1. So let's make a checklist. We got introduced to the world, the characters, the goal, and the inciting incident. So your Act 1 ends on the inciting incident, and then we jump to problem solving, which is the confrontation of Act 2. So Act 2 is the longest part in your story. This is where your character faces obstacles, growth, and prepares for the final challenge. In the Lion King, Simba leaves home after his uncle Scar threatened him. So if you watch the film, after Scar killed Mufasa, he went to Simba and threatened him to leave home and never return. So Simba took that approach. He left home and lived in an exile with Timon and Pumbaa. He learned a new way about life. He learned new songs. He learned a new way of living. He even forgot that he is a lion. He learned about how to eat certain food. He learned about new songs. He learned even about languages. So he was so relaxed that he even forgot home. But as Simba grows, he faces an inner conflict, which is to hide forever or return home and face Scar. So this turning point comes when Nala finds him, forcing him to confront who he really is. When Nala finally finds Simba, she tells him about everything that his uncle Scar has been doing in the Pride Land, how he has taken his position as the king, how he is mistreating other animals. The land is no longer the same. Since his father Mufasa died and he has left. So she convinces Simba to return and face who he really is and fight for his rightful place as the king. So this puts Simba at a corner of whether should I go back home and fight for my rightful place, or should I just continue hiding forever because I'm so comfortable. I made new friends here. I lived here for the longest time, and everything here looks so peaceful and good. So should I really go back and fight Scar? So this is a inner conflict. So inner conflict is when your character battles with their thoughts and emotions. So this put Simba in a corner, forcing him to make a huge decision about his life. So at the end, Simba decides to confront who he really is. He takes his friend Timon and Pumbaa, and then together with Nwala, they go on a journey to go and confront Scar and fight for his rightful place. So as you can see, Simba is stepping out of his comfort zone to go and fight for what is truly his. So this process is called the character growth. It's when your characters step out of their comfort zone to go and fight for what is truly theirs. So when you write a story, it's very important that we see character growth. We see your characters meeting obstacles and then growing up and then stepping out to fight for what's truly theirs. So this is the most interesting part of the story, and it adds the juice into it. So this brings us to the end of Act 2, which is a throw forward of Act 3. As you can see, your character prepares for the final challenge. So in this case, Simba prepares to fight for what is truly his. Now we are going to Act 3, which is resolution. This is where everything builds up to climax, and then we see the aftermath. So in The Lion King, Simba returns home to face Scar. So when he returns home, he realizes how bad the land is since he has left. We also can see as the audience that when Simba left and before Mufasa died, the land was flowing with milk and honey, the animals were free, they were joyful, and there was peace in the land. But right now, there is no peace. His uncle Scar and the hyenas have taken over the land, and they are eating other animals, and the other animals are afraid of them. Like there is no peace. So the final push of this story, or I can say this act, is when Simba finds out that his uncle Scar killed his father. This triggered his emotions and then pushed him to the limits to fight for his rightful position. So in the end, like Scar and then other animals like his mom and Nala, they and also his friends, they team up together and kill Scar, and also along with the hyenas in the fire. So if you watch the film, you can see the final battle there where Simba, all the animals, they team up together against his uncle and the hyenas. So after the long battle where he kills his uncle Scar along with the hyenas, he reclaims back the land. This is when the rain falls and then the land it gets reclaimed, and then there is peace again, and then the cycle of life continues again. So this is the aftermath of the story, that after all he has been going through, right now he reclaims back his position as the king, like he achieves his goal. So the animals have peace again, they all celebrate, like everything is back to normal. So this is the resolution of the story, and then this is Simba's journey, like he started from when he was a child to when he grows up, and then in the end. So overall, looking at this story, the goal was simple, for Simba to become the king, but then antagonist Scar was in the way, and then now he had to fight all these battles and reclaim back his position. So at the end, he achieves his goal. Well, this brings us to the end of this video, which is the 3x story structure of the Lion King. I hope this gave you a blueprint on how the 3x story structure is supposed to be like, and I hope it's going to help you when you write your story so that you do not lose out on your storyline. So if this video really helps you, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe, and then let me know in the comment section what you think about this video. So bye, and see you guys on the next video. Bye and happy writing.